So hi everyone, welcome to MyWatches episode 13. And for those who are watching the YouTube, you can see we have, I keep forgetting, the location will probably be different.
It's here.
This side, yes, this side. Casey joining us for today's episode. And as usual, you guys shouldn't be surprised anymore. Woody, a permanent guest as well. Right. Links and descriptions and everything will be in the description, right? Will be plotted up right somewhere here. All right. And always usual, first things first, wristwatch check. All right. I'll go first, I guess. I'm wearing the Zenith Defy Classic Skeleton. Don't think I've reviewed this yet. This is one of the latest purchase I've got since the last episode. And another watch as well, and another watch that I've ordered, which we'll talk about today as well. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Flex. James show. And I'm rocking the Saab 33, if it focuses. Yeah.
I'm wearing the Spring Drive White Birch, recent release by Grand Seiko.
Awesome. Renee?
Okay, my turn. I'm wearing the 59mm Explorer Mark II.
And I'm wearing a watch that I'm not strictly allowed to reveal, but you can try and see it through the watermark here. It's
Dial black bezel.
It's a new collab between Teamatic and Notice coming out probably end of this month, I think.
So could we start with that? How much are you allowed to talk about it?
Right. I can tell you that it is nice. Okay. Okay. I think at this point we have released a couple of teasers. So I can mention that it's basically a Notice and Matic collab on the Sector Pilot.
The second collab, right?
Yes, it's our second collab. This time it's the Sector Pilot edition of the Notice watches. We're very happy with it. There will be a very interesting number of we're doing, the last piece we did was Avamatic, the Avalon, so there were 30 pieces of that. This time we're doing a number that is slightly more than double, and it's a very nice number that people like very much.
69.
No, I don't know, I didn't say that. But yeah, so we'll be releasing that soon. There'll be lots of details. We'll release pictures, videos. We'll have a podcast with Wes and Cam as well, Wes and Cullen as well from Notice.
Are they coming over?
They're not this time because borders are technically opening, but we're doing an international release this time. So we're not just selling to Malaysians.
Oh, nice.
Which was what we did last time, right?
Oh.
We're releasing this international. So like
even though it's a
anyone can pick
Matic release, but everyone can have it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Because the first Avamatic, the first Avalon, the first collab that we did, it was super interesting because there was actually a couple of guys from overseas, who were like asking and like, can we get one? Can we get one? And like, there were just no pieces left because
there were quite a few. Yeah,
it's just 30, right?
Yeah. So like, there's technically a waiting list. So technically anyone
20 years,
technically infinity years, because unless we have a list of the Avamatic sellers and we've told all of them like, if you guys want to sell your watch, let us know. We have a ready list of people who want.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that's a good way.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think Woody, you have a story about that as well, right?
Yeah. Actually, I exercised that thing as well. So when I figured it didn't fit so well, I told Marshall, I said, I don't want to go it on the market. Just tell me who the next person on the list was. Connect me to that person, and I'll just work out an arrangement with them. And I felt that was the fairest way for the guys that would actually put it up as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Rolex.
Are you part of the Woody? Are you part of the Notice Insiders group?
No, I'm not. I'm not actually.
So there's a huge story. There's an insane story behind that. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time for this, but the guy who bought your watch, right?
Yeah.
He loved the fucking watch. He wore it for the birth of his daughter.
Wow. Okay.
Then one day he went to the swimming pool, and someone stole it off him.
Oh no!
So he lost the watch. Yeah.
Oh no!
But
we couldn't find it. We tried. We've put out like, if you guys find this serial number, this edition number, like let us know because this is his watch. But we couldn't find it. So what we did was I messaged Wes and Cullen. We managed to find spare parts because they kept spare parts on hand in case anyone's watch goes bad. We made one more just for him.
Wow.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
But we made one more and it was gifted to him. Like just yeah.
Wow.
That was
Wow.
because
That's amazing.
actually no, sorry. We were planning to gift it to him, but then he bought another Avalon. My bad. He bought another Avalon. Then I was like, oh shit, we were too late because we were trying to send it to him. Yeah, I'm just remembering this now. So I texted him and I told him, I know you got the new Avalon, but I'm just here to offer you, like, if you want, you can send it in to Western Cullen. They'll change the parts for you to make it an Avomatic, and then send it back to you at no charge.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the end, that's
what happened. Very nice. Very nice. I'll probably reach out to him then if that was what happened.
With
Because
the same serial number.
No, unfortunately, but we did get a
+1.
Yeah, it's 30 + 1.
Yeah.
We tried to get it engraved, but that was, I think, the peak of COVID, and the engraving guys that Western Cullen were using went out of business.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah, so we couldn't get it engraved for him, but
Yeah.
it's a piece unique. It's the only
That's
Avomatic
nuts, man.
without the engraving on it.
That's nuts.
That's
That's
cool.
pretty nuts. That's a
really
story.
cool.
That's a
It was
story to
insane.
tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's what we love about this hobby, right? Stories like this.
So
Dude, I
who
didn't
wants
know you
to
didn't know
go? Yeah, who wants to go next? in
Yeah,
terms
whose
of-
story is
Renee, you want to go?
Yeah, Renee, what did you order?
What did I order? This is Woody's fault.
Why is it my fault?
Woody seems to be at fault for a lot of things.
I know. And I don't feel guilty about it at all, you know?
That's the
Signs of
best
a
part.
psychopath.
So I think they started Woody when I was telling you and James I'm really confused on this hobby right now because I don't feel like I don't know what I want next. Like everything is so hyped. I don't know what I can really buy next realistically. Like everything's so overpriced now, and I'm also starting to slowly lose interest in everything. Then you talk about why don't you look into micro brands? But there was this micro brand I asked you last time. You said this is a Rolex of a micro brand, so most probably I also won't get it. What brand is it again?
Helios.
Helios?
Helios. Yeah. Of all the micro brands, you took the Helios, which was even before
I didn't
Ming
know
became
that.
big, that was the one that would sell all the time.
Yep. Helios and Mark II. Right.
Yeah.
And then, but Woody has a lot of suggestions. Like you listed there so many things, but this Traska, because of its scratch resistance, was the one which
Yes.
which
The Traska,
really,
right?
yeah, which really caught my interest. So I watched some videos comparing the 904 steel from Rolex being scratched versus this Traska, and then suddenly I think they released. I also didn't know about the release date. Then you message in the group, but I didn't see the message at night. Then I woke up the first morning. I checked it. Then I click on it, and everything was almost sold out. So
Wait, so which Traska was this?
So I took the venture because I needed a watch with a second time zone. I don't have a GMT watch right now, but the I think it's a 12-hour bezel, right? I think that
Yes,
will
a
do.
12 bezel. Yes.
Yeah, I think that will do for
Yeah.
me as well.
I think
So-
you wanted the mint green initially,
yeah, I wanted
right?
the mint green, but
Yeah, that was the one that sold out.
yeah, it's sold out so fast. So I got a blue one. So luckily I was still able to get it. So yeah, and
I
it's
was actually really surprised you jumped so quickly.
FOMO kicked in, right? Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I already got the notification that it's already been shipped. So I'm just
Ah.
checking it and waiting for it. So I'm just so excited to get it soon.
Very nice.
Next
Just be
week.
prepared to pay the 6%, but I think you'll be
Oh
fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
What's the model called? Traska
Venture.
Venturer.
Venturer.
I'm actually a huge fan of Traska. I think they make fantastic watches.
Yeah, I think that video that Renee was referring to was, I think, Teddy Baldassar that did it. They actually scratched it there and
Right.
then in front of Mr.
Mr.
Wonderful of the
Wonderful.
Shark Tank. He really asked him to just try and scratch this, and he had a Rolex link side by side, and the Rolex link scratched straight away, and that one didn't. So that was really great advertising for them right there.
So like what's was it like a different material or like what's with the
They
whole
have
scratch
a
thing?
coating on it.
It's essentially a DLC coating, right? Basically, but except that it's a transparent DLC coating, I guess.
Yeah, it's something like that. It just adds hardness to the steel, essentially.
That's what
It's
she
something
said.
that who was it? One of the German brands, was it Zinn?
Zinn, I
Right,
think it's
Zinn
one
has
of
been
those
doing
that has been doing something
And,
like that
Yeah,
too.
Damasco
and
as well,
Damasco,
I think.
yeah, Damasco.
Yeah, Damasco. I think Damasco is the one. Zinn is the one that had the submarine steel. That's slightly
Right.
different.
I
Really
think
cool.
Damasco is
So you got it in mint green.
No,
No.
mint green, the one sold out. He got it in blue.
Ah, blue.
Yeah,
But the blue has a
one.
nice pebble texture.
It's
I think that
yeah, it's
Blue
like
is
a
nice.
it's like a very light blue.
Like a
Yeah.
vintage blue.
Almost
yeah.
Tiffany blue.
Oh,
Mhm. in trend. He didn't go green, he went blue.
you became
Maybe
your
sell it
own
for
worst.
100 grand
You
soon.
became your own worst enemy. Right?
Yeah, so
What's
congratulations, Renee.
Congratulations.
That's a
man.
very nice
Thanks.
watch, man. Congrats.
Yeah.
All right,
All
what's next?
Woody,
James, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Oh,
You
James
go
is
ahead,
the
go
longest. I
ahead.
think
Yeah.
you're gonna save James for
No,
last.
James has too many flexes in store, so
Yeah,
we
man.
gotta go Woody first.
Yeah. Woody first.
All right,
Woody
so I'll
first.
try and keep this short because it's a fairly long story, but it's like this. Everyone knows in this group knows that they call me an anti-Rolex guy. I've justified myself many times that I'm not exactly an anti-Rolex guy, but so be it. And one watch that I thought will always break the trend if I ever get a chance to buy it at retail would be the Rolex Explorer 36 because I have a very small
Holy
wrist.
shit.
That's the only one that I can probably wear, right?
It feels like we are the same person, but okay, go on.
Yeah, so I figured if I were to break the dub, that would be it. So, you start thinking like, okay, like, if the chance arrives, I'll put in this order and things like that. So you start trying to play that, making friends with the ADs and stuff like that and try and get an allocation, right? And so you hype this whole thing up. And one fine day, just a few weeks ago, I got a chance to meet the hero, meaning someone actually got it and I know the guy. So I decided, let me go meet the guy and let me just try it on my wrist. And so in my mind, I'm going like, okay, everyone's been telling me as a watch enthusiast collector, the only thing that's missing is a Rolex, right? And it's the only one you can wear, blah, 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 the whole thing. So I get a chance to put it on my wrist. The reaction that I got was, holy crap, this is bloody boring. This is the most boring watch one can ever have. And I understand why it's boring because it's meant to be like do everything, go anywhere, do anything watch, right? But as someone who has embraced this hobby and gotten a taste of everything, right? You go like, is this really what I want? The one watch thing, I don't think that's it anymore. And then I scrutinized it further and going like, and I mean, the friends that were with me like, hey, it's your wrist so well. I'm like, I'm not feeling an emotional response at all. And so I was like, this is weird. I'm opening myself up to be able to eat all my words and get really fat from it, right? And no emotion. And I was like, it looks kind of dressy. It doesn't look kind of right. I think that's it. That was like glass shattering moment. And I went like, and almost like an existential moment. You go like, if that's the way it's going to be, right? Why do I put it up so high on a pedestal? So first lesson learned, never meet your heroes, right? And then it goes like, okay, what really makes me happy is a watch that will fit my wrist and I really appreciate it for what it is. And truth be told, I think I had a conversation with James on it as well. Of all the Rolex sports watches, that's the one with the most fake history anyway. It's not even real to begin with. And so I was like, you know what? That scratches Rolex off the list. But having said that, I was ready to spend like 20,000 at retail for it. And I'm like, why? So I looked at my collection and went like, second lesson learned, right? In this journey, a good fitting watch beats a good looking watch any day of the week. And so one of the watches, two watches actually had always had this problem as a small wrist person. The first was the Speedy, and the reason, and I've talked about it in the previous episode, the reason I switched from a 1861 to a 3861 is the new case and the new bracelet. It just wears so much better on my wrist that I just cannot unsee it, unfeel it. The second one was the Spring Drive Snowflake. I've loved it. I actually bought it abroad. I love the idea of it. Everyone tells me it's too big for me. I didn't choose to believe it. But it started to bother me that, you know what? I'm at the stage right now where everything else is hype and I just want to get watches that fit really well, right? And I was about to spend stupid money on a watch that I don't even like. So let me try and rationalize what I should get. And so I went to check out. So the White Birch Spring Drive came out. I went the first time. I'm like, this looks great. It feels okay on the wrist. But, I started to find reasons not to get it. And the guys didn't even know about it, that I was actually thinking through all of this, right? I'm like, but there's something about it that hooked on me. And so I actually went a second time after that when a friend of mine wanted to see it, right? And he's very sensitive to fit. And he said, dude, pay very close attention to what you feel on the wrist when you wear this. There's something very different about it. And then I went again with him and I put it on and I'm like, crap, he's right. The price is ridiculous. It's the highest watch, most expensive watch I have. Right? I'm like, do I want to do this, right? And then once I thought about it, I'm like, I need to make sure the watches I have really fit my wrist and they wear better because, you know, you have things flopping around and all that. All the watches I've ever sold have always been about fit. I actually don't sell watches. And James also pointed out, I don't usually sell watches. It's really about fit. This one just fit like a glove. And it's something to do with the new case that they've done where all the marketing buzz, only Japanese do this, very low center of gravity. And therefore, if you ever see it on my wrist, you will notice there's no float. A lot of watches have a float from the underside of the case. This watch actually sticks really closely to the wrist. And I actually went to the dealer and I told the guy, right, I cannot make this decision. And I was wearing my snowflake. I said, unless I know for a fact that it doesn't flop on my wrist. And he actually looked at me and said, okay, you know what? I know you're serious because it's the third time you're here already. I'm going to adjust the links for you and you try it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, it's okay, walk away. And he was kind enough to do that for me. So I put it on and I knew it fit. Everything worked really well. And then he said, just shake the damn thing on your wrist right now. Right? And sure enough, it stays firmly there. It doesn't leave marks on my wrist. It just sits. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm selling the snowflake. I'm getting this because it's finally a spring drive that works for me. It's a 5-day power reserve. It's really the future of this of Grand Seiko already. They've put so much backing behind it. Although I have to say it's a watch that suffers from the fact that they are now trying to compete with the Rolexes of the world as well. So the prices have hiked tremendously. But yeah, that's the watch I decided to get. So I sold off the snowflake to a nice gentleman that actually, interestingly enough, I bought a watch from him before for my wife. And he was the same guy that messaged me saying, I'm interested in it. So I did a deal with him. And so yeah, that's the story of the watch on my wrist. So never meet your heroes. Number 2, buy a watch that really fits your wrist. And number 3, last and most importantly, buy a watch that really speaks to you. The spring drive has always spoken to me. The Grand Seiko as a brand has always spoken to me more than any other brand. And so I just embraced it for what it is. And that's the story.
It's a great story, man.
Nice, man. Congrats.
I'm still waiting for a spring drive to speak to me.
You meet Woody now, right?
Yeah, you should.
I
You
am
should.
afraid to meet Woody right now.
Don't look at
Based on what he said, right? The ridiculous price. But
Yeah.
I mean, spring drive is something that I've also been looking at as the next one. But yeah,
The whole price thing for Grand Seiko is really our fault as the watch community.
Yeah, it is. It is.
What have we been doing for the past 10 years? Hey, Grand Seiko is such value for money.
Value for money, undervalue.
They could beat watches twice the price. So obviously the people at Seiko are like,
they have a
bad
point.
idea.
They have a point. Fucking 75 episodes of Casey and John, you probably say that about once every episode. So that's 75 times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, Han, you should, right? Be very careful with it, right?
Yeah, one day, man.
I think you're got influenced by many people over here, like the Speedmaster, Ming, Reversal,
man.
Yeah.
GS next, man.
You guys
And shout out to Tim who bought a GS as well, right? Who's not here. So good man. But of course, he got a 62 GS one. So that's a great watch, I have to say. So shout out to him, and I hope he can join us the next time around.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
So James, over to you now.
Yeah, James. We have about half an episode. I think that's about the.
Just nice, just for James.
Right.
Renee is done talking as well.
So I think I'll start off with this piece, the DeFi Classic Skeleton. It was on my radar for a longest time already, right? I think since 2019, right? I've started looking at
James,
it.
how many watches do you have in your radar, by the way?
A lot, right? So I make a
Big
decision
radar.
with a lot of potential candidate that just try to narrow down and so on. And the obvious, I mean, I've talked about this as well, my selection criteria, what are the factors and everything. And I sort of put the history of the watch in terms of like the past models and so on, how it comes about, the name and everything. I put a lot of emphasis on that. And this, to be honest, doesn't really have it, right? It is part of the DeFi, the line, but as a skeleton, and in my mind, the skeleton, when I heard about skeleton, it always comes to me as, oh, it's a gaudy looking watch. It's a very, like, people that want to show off, they only buy skeleton watches and so on. And most of the watch are skeletonized just for the sake of skeletonizing it, right? It just looks very gaudy. But that's why I give myself all these reasons to not go for this. And I've gone for like the Speedmaster, the Reversal, the Snowflake, which has all like have some sort of history that sort of that ties to it. And I've been just thinking for so long, and then I couldn't get it off my mind. All right. And then with the FOMO of not being able to buy watches at a good price come into factor as well, I realized that, oh shit, this watch may potentially get discontinued, right? With all the rumors of the Skyline model that comes out, and Zenith getting a lot of traction since the what I call the Daytona, the Chronomaster Sport start getting hyped up because of the GHPD, and people just buying it because they can't buy the Daytona, and then people start buying Zenith now, right? Zenith is in people's radar at this point. So I was like, oh shit, if I don't get it now, then I don't know when, right? Especially with a good discount and before it gets discontinued. So then I had a chat with the guys here and so on, looking at what potential watch I should get and so on. And then I spoke to
always a good
Woody's
idea.
dealer.
Always a good idea to talk to the guys.
and my name just comes up randomly,
Yeah.
right?
Always a good idea to talk to the guys.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
That's
terrible
like, alright.
idea.
Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't tell the guys before I made my decision. They were really
Oh,
shocked.
because you would have
Smart.
bought it like 5 weeks ago, right? Before you bought it.
Yeah, then I had a chat with the dealer from the 80, and I says like, hey, what is the price for this? What's the discount rate for this? And to my surprise, I don't mind sharing this. It's I got it at a 30% discount, which is,
Yeah.
I was like, there's a sign. It's like
For something
should
that's
buy it now,
seemingly
right? It's
for
like,
something that's seemingly discontinued now.
Yeah.
yeah, and I to me, I was prepared to like, oh, I don't know, Zenith is hot now. I can give you maybe 20. I thought 20, 25 was really good already. And the next thing was 30, exceeded my expectation. And I have been on and off looking at this watch for years because I just think that it's very, very beautiful. And I was like, all right, I think with this 30% discount, I think just fuck it, let's just do it. Right. Buy first thing later. Right.
Buy lah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I bought
thanks, Casey.
and no regrets. I bought it, and right now this is actually the piece that I wore the most. I've been telling these guys like, hey, every time I look at it, I find something different. Every time I look at it, I was just mesmerized. The balance, the design of it is just very, very beautiful, which also comes, to me that sometimes your selection criteria or your philosophy may change throughout your watch journey, right? Where I say that, oh, I need to have this, I need to have this, I need to have this. Sometimes you do something different, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it don't. That goes to the journey as well, right? And that's how I got this.
And like,
right?
actually, you know, like how you have a list, like I want a dress watch, I want a dive watch, I want a chrono, etc. Right? I've always told people that you should leave, like, if you have 5 in your list, right, you should leave the 5th spot as a wild card. And I think this is probably perfect, like, to describe as a wild card, something that came out of left field, that didn't fill any of your criteria, that just struck your fancy and you freaking love it. I think that's a perfect wild card, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums on what and how I got this piece. And I just gotta say, no regrets, especially seeing the new Skyline.
The new one, Skyline is not fun.
Yeah,
It's a chunky boy.
I've seen it in person as well last week. I've sent the guys the photo, and it's a thick boy, right? It's a really, really thick boy.
How does it feel in the wrist, James?
Okay, the only thing I like about it, 2 things, right? One, I like the dial, right? The dial texture and everything.
That star-like dial, is it?
Yeah. It's actually pretty nice, right? And the interchangeable bracelet, it's very nice as well, right? It's very intuitive and everything. But that's about it.
I always wondered Yeah. I always wonder whether the second hand gets a bit too distracting, you know?
Oh, I
Because
hate it.
because it's moving so fucking fast, right?
It's basically a party trick that serves no
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, does it like distract you from even telling the time? It's like, oh shit, this is like going, right?
Yeah, I absolutely hate it. I've seen it. People, I guess some people were like, oh wow, it's so fast. But no, not for me. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, it's a bit funny.
Yeah. And the thickness, nah, right.
Chunky
It's
boy.
it's on the paper, it isn't that thick, but on reality, because there's no break point or anything like that, it's just one giant slab, and it's just
Yeah.
And
Definitely not
that's
for-
what I'm worried about for the
yeah.
PRX Chrono 2, you know. It's that sort of slab that's going to come out that
Yep.
people don't realize yet. But I get what you mean.
yeah,
Not for me and Woody lah. This is not for me and Woody.
Yeah, and the AD the sales agent that I spoke to, he says like, oh, you have this, is that good? Because it's just getting discontinued this month. That's like, okay. Yeah. So I made the right choice for that. And I wasn't intending to spend that much in that span of 2 weeks. I think 1 or 2 weeks. Next thing I know, I got the what people say, the call, right?
The call.
The call, right? To my surprise, because to me, I was like, it may or may not happen, whatever. Yeah. So I would then, next thing I know, I did actually get the call from an AD for a Rolex sports model, for a submarinal date, right? I think I've mentioned this a few times as well. In the past couple of episodes, I always wanted a submariner, right? Because I think when I first started, it always been like the watch, where you always see like Woody says, your hero, right? I said what people aspire to get to, what people dream of. Or one day when I make enough money, I want to get that, right? It's an iconic piece, right? I mean, when people think about dive watch and so on, first thing comes to your mind. It's
Casey is downing his drink.
I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed. Oh,
right.
Woody, you want to go on a side chat?
Yeah. I think we need to break a breakout room right here already.
Right. So what I think about the saying next may be more how to say more, you'll be more agreeable in terms of what I'm going to say next, I guess. So this is the sub right here. So I got this, and it's been, I think, 2 months since I got it. And I have to say, if I have a choice, I actually would take this over this. Right.
Oh, that's a big statement.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very, very
huge
upfront about
statement.
it. Yeah. It's, I guess if I were to sum it up on how would I like describe this watch, it's a very, very well built boring watch. Yeah. No fault about it. It's very well built in terms of build quality. The functionality of it is great in terms of the clasps and everything. Bezel action, amazing. It's just something missing. I don't know. Especially it's like when I look forward to this day for so many years, you sort of expected more. But yeah, I didn't get it.
You mean there's no spark, James? No
I
magic.
wouldn't say there's no spark, but it's just I put it up here, and it was just here.
You know what? The title of this podcast should just be Rolex is boring.
I was just going to say, it sounds exactly like Woody's story. Pretty much.
Yeah, it pretty much is, except that you spend the money.
Yep.
Ouch.
I didn't pay gray market for it. So,
fair enough.
yeah, I did not pay gray market for it, and I will keep this watch. Just because of
Keep it,
how
bro,
hard
and
is it
buy
to
2
get
more
it.
Defies.
Yeah, man. You can buy a Defy for all of us.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks very much.
So you've heard it first on this podcast. James is selling a Rolex. If you want to buy it for like 100 grand, let us know.
Yeah.
He's getting all of us Defies. Yay, thanks,
Yes.
James. I'm so happy I came on this podcast.
but all the reason why I won't sell it is because that obviously the journey to get this is very, very tough, and it also, I mean, it coincides with a sort of a time period as well. It's like I have currently moved from Malaysia to Singapore, and I got this right before I left, and it also my 30th birthday, and it also has the card on my 30th birthday. So that's pretty cool. I find it, right? It's like when I pass it down to my kid and say, hey, your dad got this when it's 30th, and this is the same age. since then as well. So yeah, but I mean,
Have
still,
you shared about the journey that got you to that piece?
Oh,
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, like,
Yeah. What was the journey?
what was the journey?
so the journey, there's multiple trials and error. I think there's a lot of research in online saying that how does one even get a Rolex sports model via an AD? Some people say, oh yeah, make friends, walk in every week and so on. I did that for a year for the first AD that I dealt with. I've walked in every time I pass by the AD, pass by the shopping mall. I'll walk in, I'll say, hey, hi, and everything. Sometimes I even chat with him for a good hour and so on, right? Just to prove that I am really into this and I'm not going to buy it and flip it and so on, right? Did that for a year. There's a lot of empty promises and so on, and it just didn't work, right? I've tried out different ADs from different companies, and then I've spoke to another friend of mine who actually happened to got it. I say, hey, what's your secret? How do you get it? And so on. And then the secret essentially is you need to hit a threshold of historical spend, and not every piece is counted as eligible purchase, right? So for example, if you buy a Black Bay 58, it doesn't count because it sells itself. So essentially, you got to buy stuff that doesn't sell by itself. And you need to hit a particular spend, and that spend increases every time the median changes, right? So you got to follow that as it grows and so on, right?
So you're kind of chasing that as well.
Yes, right. As the more rich people spend more, and then you got to chase that as well. So you got to be at the top, basically, right? So I was like, okay, fine. I'm not willing to buy something that I won't wear. I have a list that I will buy eventually anyways. So it's like, all right, this is the final goal. I've told you guys as well. If this doesn't work, I'm not doing it anymore. I was like, I give up. So I just tried this last hurrah. I made a couple of purchases, the reversal and a few others that I really wanted to get anyways. And I was like, all right, done it. Now it's a waiting game. I did my part. Now I'm just waiting if my AD actually fulfills the promises. Fast track to, I think, 2 months or 3 months later, not too long ago. I mean, not too far apart. I actually got the call, and then yeah. But for longest time, I didn't believe it. I was like, I'm just wasting my time. I said like, oh, will it happen? Will it not happen? And stuff like that. Then my AD ghosted me for a long time.
And the phrase I told you is, if he doesn't honor it, right, the guy's a real asshole already.
Because there's a kid that was waited 20 years for that submariner that's in your hand right now, by the way, and you took it from him. That's essentially what happened as well.
Okay, I have to ask, because I think a lot of people that I generally, like the crowd that I run with are generally not Rolex people. So I have to ask you, because you're the first Rolex guy I'm meeting. Is the fact that they made you jump through hoops and wait make the watch better?
I think he kind of answered that in the previous part.
I thought it would, but I guess not really.
Right? Like,
yeah.
No, but you said that you're going to keep it because of this whole journey.
I guess, okay, yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels like, to me at least, like, for me, when I want to buy something, like, dude, I got the fucking cash right here. I want to buy this watch. You got it or you don't. You have a wait list or you don't. You're not going to give me a list of requirements for me to give you my money. So that's my personal policy, which is why I think I'm with Woody in the sense that, protect. If you're going to vet me before I give you my money, no, I'm out. So, which is why I'm just personally like, I would have called it quits on day one of your journey, I think. Frankly.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
And I feel like, and the fact that after going through all this trouble, you found the watch was underwhelming. Dude, how gutted are you about that?
It's not underwhelming to others, though.
True, that's true. But I
mean,
it
holds a
James
value,
personally,
right? Yeah, it holds.
Yeah, to James personally, like, where do you stand right now?
I guess
back now, how do you feel?
Yeah, I guess what you say, it is kind of true, right? Because to me, it's like, okay, even though it didn't really meet my expectation, but I guess I wouldn't say it's about the journey. But if I were to be very honest, I would say the market value of it does give me some ease, right? I mean, guys, it's like, oh, I mean, I don't really like it, but it's still worth X amount, although I'm not going to sell it. It does at least mentally helps me accept it a little bit more. So I guess what you
Fair.
say is correct. Yeah.
Like you're not
Yeah.
losing the money, right?
Yeah.
If anything, you've gained money.
Would
You've
you
earned
would you
money.
ever sell it? Like I kind of feel like you might,
Yeah, like down the line.
based on what you said, I kind of feel like you might if there's a reason for it. It kind of feels like that.
Would you say to fund something else?
Yeah. For example, if something came out that you really, really, really love, and let's say it's X, right? And this is like worth X.
So
right?
don't
It's
get
just
me
a
wrong.
1-to-1, right?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it. Right. It's just not as great as how I would imagine it to be. Right.
So I'll give you a scenario.
yeah.
I'll give you a scenario, right? 35 years old, right? You have something else that comes out that's not a Rolex, right? That can become that landmark thing. And this thing is now tripled whatever you paid for, right? Would you sell it now to get that, to create that new milestone?
I don't know, because I can't imagine. I don't have an item in mind that would fit that criteria.
I have a feeling that you would.
Really?
Just a feeling.
Like right now, you have the Defy, right? Would you rather lose this or the Defy?
Ooh.
Okay,
I
think that's
lose
the
this.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the answer, right? So you if there's something,
if you love as much as the Defy, you might give this one up. Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. I guess then this is great speaking, right? I rather keep it, and if I don't have to, I don't want to. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Put it that way. But yeah, but then again, I don't hate it. And I still think there's a lot of history with it in terms of this. Especially, don't get the Cyclops, right? I think that if it's a Cyclops one, it's gone, right? And there's actually a story to that as well. But so if it's like, I would say the true sub, I think there's a lot of stories to it as well. So I think historically, I think it's worth keeping. And I'll say two things, historically and the journey. There's two things that's probably preventing me from selling.
Well, technically, if you sell it and get a new landmark item, then that is the journey for that landmark.
True. It becomes part of a new journey.
To be fair to you, James,
a non-boring journey.
The reality is, if someone offered me an Explorer at retail, I'll still take it. But my mental state will say I will sell it. Eventually, I will just sell it because there's no point holding on to it. Even whatever association, right? The money makes more sense than whatever intrinsic value it seems to have.
I like an Explorer at retail.
Honestly, like the reason why I was saying Woody, like we are the same person, is I'm also not a Rolex guy. In case nobody could tell so far. But if there was any watch that I would wear from Rolex, it was also a Rolex Explorer 1 36mm. And having experienced my friend's vintage model,
the vintage one is beautiful. Vintage is beautiful.
Same.
I have not seen the new one yet, so I don't know.
I have seen the vintage one, and that's the problem that I've had. My first introduction to it was the 5-digit one. And I was like, wow.
And you're comparing that to this.
And this one, there's just something wrong with it. It's just
it's more
way
sterile.
Too bling. It's too bling already, It's like the tool factor that came with the old one, where it looks like really completely brushed and just a bit less shiny. That's what that old Rolex meant. And this new one I think, James, you put it really well. It's just a Rolex OP, right? With a 369.
Essentially. Yep.
But I think for me, as a collector itself, I also want to potentially have a lot of a piece where I can open up the box and tell a story. For example, first Watch of the Moon, the first sports watch, which is Reverso, the first rich watch, the Cartier Santos. That's why I always look at all these pieces and stuff. And this is in there as well. And if I can build that for the collection purpose, I think that's something I wouldn't mind keeping this for as well.
Or do you want to argue that the 50 Fathoms is the first watch?
Or the Zodiac Seawolf as being the first civilian dive watch?
Or the Omega Marine?
Omega Marine, the first submersible watch.
Guess we just added a few watches to your list.
Right.
See, I'm going to buy you a drink for sure.
There you go.
Oh man,
you can't have two contrarians on this podcast, man. That's a problem.
They just feed off each other.
Right. Okay. So I think just one last one before we move on, right? Another thing that I got or purchased, or no, ordered, it's the Chronograph 2, nicknamed
nice.
Shiro, right?
Nice.
So I've always been a big fan of Chrono. I've explained that many times. I'm also a Chrono contributor for 2022. And yeah, so that is an interesting journey because the Chronograph one is the one that actually made me aware of this particular brand. And I did a whole bunch of research, who is Hajime Asoka and everything. And that's where I actually like fall in love with this brand. But when that comes up, I was like, wow, beautiful, right? The dial is amazing, everything. But then Woody and I start digging deeper, right? Which then we start finding out, I was like, he's a thick boy, though. He's a bloody thick
deeper.
boy. And I was like, oh man, should I get it or should I not get it? To me, it's like same thing as well. It's a collector mindset. I want to get all of the Chronos, right? I have the Toki, which is the classic line. I have the Grand Hagane, which is the grand line, and then I'm only missing the Chrono piece, right? So I just want to fill that collection. But at the same time, I ask myself, am I just filling a collection just for the sake of filling a collection, right? So that's the thing as well. Is like just like, what do I do? Do I buy it? Do I not buy it? And it's like, so it's like I just made up my mind yesterday. I'm going to just buy it and see it in person and decide what to do with it.
It is a real thick boy though.
Yeah, it is. It's a super thick boy.
What's the dimensions for that? 14? Is it like
I think it's 14, and they made no effort to hide it. So it's like it looks like this lump on the side. I think the closest I can think of is like I showed you guys recently the Milgauss, right? It looks like that from the side, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. A Milgauss actually has a very thick case. So
right. I mean, for the magnetic resistance.
Yeah, magnetic resistance and all that. And it's the typical Rolex side case where it's just one slab. So it will have that effect. But I mean, at the end of the day, if it fits, it fits. I mean, you had the Tudor chronograph before, right? So I think if you felt that and it didn't bother you so much, and I think you used to own the Tudor GMT too, and that was also quite thick. So,
but the proportion is more equal though, because this is a 38 and a 14.
That's true.
Right,
that's true.
So it's less balanced, right? You have a narrow
ratio.
The ratio is a bit off, right? So I don't know. To be honest, I'm like at this point I just give up thinking about it. And I'll just get it and see how it goes. Right. Especially I don't have to go through a queue to get it. I have a contributor allocation for it. I'm just decided I'm just going to get it first. The worst case, I get to spend some time photographing it with that, and I'll decide what to do with it later. But I'm made up my mind. I'm keeping it for at least a year for that. Yeah.
It honestly reminds me of like the Seiko Presage series, because it's the Power Reserve version is the one I got. It's also a very thick boy. It's super unnecessarily thick, and I don't like the way the case wears at all, but I keep it because of the dial. Like, to me, the dial just trumps all of that. When I put it on the wrist, it's not the best fit. It's not super comfortable. If you look at it side on, it's horrible. But when I just look at the face, I'm like, that's the stuff. So
I think that would be a saving grace. I think the saving grace will be that, because that chronograph's face, the dial, beautiful. Yeah.
So it might work out, but only time will tell, man. And spending a year with it, I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
That'll really help you let you know the watch and how it wears on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that we talked about in like 3 episodes ago as well. I think having able to try the watch before purchasing has become a luxury, and it's become very, very tough to make decision, right? Especially with Rolex, it's like you want to not, you don't get to try it first. And especially with my recent experience with Vacheron, right? So I just landed in Singapore in the weekend. I just went to, I said, all right, we don't have a Vacheron boutique in Malaysia, so I can't try it. And especially I want to try the overseas in blue, right? Because that's the one.
Beautiful watch.
Very beautiful and everything. But it's 41 and it's an integrated bracelet watch as well. So it may not fit me, right? So I just want to see it first before I make my decision, especially it's a hefty purchase, right? And especially gone like super hyped up right now, right? I went into 2 Vacheron boutiques in Singapore, and it says that, oh, I'm sorry, the waiting list is 9 years. Can I try it? It's like, no. It's like, okay, fine. I know you don't have it now, but can I put my name down to try it, right? I just, when you get a display model and everything, it's like, sorry, you will not have a chance to try it. And anything that comes out will be sold in the next 9 years. I was like, okay, I was actually quite turned off from that. It's like,
Fuck off, you
what the
dirty
hell?
Malaysian. Go back to Malaysia lah.
This is a
You
racist
guys don't
thing.
even deserve a boutique and you dare to come over here and ask to try? Exactly.
Yeah, man.
So to me, it's
Wow.
like, we just trying watches right now. It became like an extreme luxury. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah. And most of the watches we buy, like not most, but a lot of the watches that we buy are online nowadays.
Mhm.
So you don't even
That's
get to try.
true.
You don't even have an idea of what it's actually going to look like in person.
Yeah, and actually makes it really hard for us to recommend it to people who are not in the space that we're in. So it's like, will it fit you? And we go like, kind of, we think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like I have a very small wrist, and then you start going like, oh, is your wrist? How many inches is your wrist? Is it a curved wrist? Is it a flat wrist?
Flat, yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, do you wear it on the bone? Do you wear it further down? It's just like, oh,
you start looking at YouTubers and stuff, comparing their wrist to your wrist. Okay, his wrist is maybe a little bit thicker. So I think with that comparison, I think it may fit and so on.
What,
So
what
like,
focal length is his camera using?
Yeah. If you take it close up, it'll look bigger than normal.
Is he using a wide angle? Like, oh my god, we need to devise a system. Like let's do it. Let's make
AR.
this.
No, but even AR, I think they've done it right.
No. That doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. There's a lot of tacit knowledge in this room right now, this virtual room. It's just we need to convert that into an experience. I think we will solve a problem for people.
Make it a system and fix it. We can do it
3D print.
I know Woody has a lot of formulas out there. It's just how we're going to convert those formulas into something that we can get layman to understand, right?
Speaking of 3D print, Nodus at one point actually considered making 3D printed cases.
Oh, wow.
And they would send out to people to try on before you buy the watch.
Oh, wow.
But it was a
There you
project,
go.
like it was a pilot project that they ended up discontinuing because it just didn't make sense in
Wasn't
terms of volume.
sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But I
wasn't
guess you
sustainable.
kind of leaked out your design as well, right? Because you do
Also,
give-
yeah, exactly. So it became a problem for them. It was a very interesting idea though, and short of that, I don't know how much you can do. Like maybe big brands could come up with dummy cases for people to try on, like without the whole thing. But I think they're just gonna be like, why bother? Demand is there. People are buying it anyway. So why bother trying so hard? Right? No.
yeah, that's pretty sad.
So that's a nice segue into new releases, I guess.
Sure, let's go for it. Let's talk about Tick Boys.
Tick boys. Which tick boy do you want to start with?
I think the Tissot PRX is the one that's really caught my eye.
I think the dial is really nice. I mean, we've looked at. I think Han, your brother has gotten the speed timer, right? And I feel that Tissot does the dial so much better.
Wait, what's the speed timer?
The chronograph, I think.
The Mecha Quartz
Seiko.
chronograph, Seiko.
The Daytona, is it? That's the one.
Yeah, the Seiko came
Yeah.
out recently, the Mecha Quartz
Okay.
chronograph.
Isn't this?
Yeah.
I thought the speed timer was like a classic 6139.
Yeah, it was
But
like,
so it's like a
that's big
reissue.
boy as
yeah,
well.
it's
Yeah.
like a
Right,
reissue
right,
Mecha
right.
Quartz.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a thick boy. I mean,
Right.
it still sits nice on the wrist, but it's kind of.
I wanted-
side on.
I really wanted the OG one though, due to the history of it and stuff, but it's just massive.
Yeah,
Really,
and,
really
and,
big.
and they don't actually issue it properly as well. Because I think the ones that when Casey mentioned the earlier episode that he saw 6139, so I'm like, man, I wish I knew him.
Dude, I practically gave them away.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I think the PRX, I think the 35s are really great for small wrists. I think they'll sell out really well. Everyone's kind of hoping for two things. I know Renee was, I kind of gave him crap for it. He wanted the 35 to be in an automatic. I said it's not happening. I almost wanted to put a bet out that includes alcohol involved. That this says,
I'm
if you can,
hoping for that as well.
yeah, if you can find me like a 36 millimeter, under 36 millimeter mechanical watch released by a mainstream brand that has an automatic movement under $1,000 US, it's like, no way, it's like no one does it, and then and then you go and look at the chronograph. The chronograph is again really beautiful, right? Because it's an integrated bracelet. It's going to wear the flare. It's just going to be like a G-Shock, it's just going to flare out like 41 and flare out. And what I kind of told the guys is it's almost a conspiracy that I'm putting out there, but even though Tissot has announced the PRX chrono, they've not ever released the thickness of that watch.
Right.
Ever. Right?
Right.
Every watch company would reveal it. So why are they not? It's probably because it's going to be 14 point something. And that would scare people away. So they need to build the hype first. But for all intents and purposes, I think they might pull it off. And it may actually wear quite okay if they get it right. But I think it's exciting. It's a nice piece, a really nice dial.
It's a great looking watch. I think the whole PRX line in general has really nailed the ratio and the proportions just really well. But
and it's priced well too.
Yeah, it's priced well. Even automatic, if you want cheaper, there's the quartz, which is great as well. But how it's gonna translate to a thick boy remains to be seen.
Yeah, that one we'll have to see. So my wager is it's going to be above 14 because every single 77, 50 or 53 watch is above 14. I think even the most recent one that I can think of from a mainstream brand was the Hamilton Intramatic, where they took away the rotor, right? Even that was nearly 14. So I don't see it. I don't think there's a way to hide that. Yeah.
Agreed.
So that's one release. James has already committed to the other thick boy, so that's covered. But I think that
the next
one
is Ming, right? Ming,
yeah, the next one is Ming. Ming, well, I did put out an infographic on it. It's a nice piece, but it kind of feels like and to be fair to Ming and his team, right? Actually, it's him. He actually admitted it too. It's really a greatest hits collection sort of put into a watch. His previous models, he kind of you can see that he was trying to realize a concept, a new concept every time. In this case, he kind of just took an amalgamation of different pieces he's done before to release this one. And so if you are someone who's like inspired by something new, you're not going to be inspired by this one so much. But it was always going to sell out anyway, and it did, right? I don't know how long it took, but it eventually just sold out.
Not long for sure.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think, James, you were saying that the green didn't really inspire you either, right?
No, I mean, like it's okay. I would say it's not badly designed or anything, but it's just not wow, right?
Yeah.
And to give them credit as well, like I say, it's difficult to keep coming up with new, interesting design, especially every piece that they've created has been sort of quite unique, right? So to give them credit for that, it's not easy to continue on doing so, right?
Right.
And I think the most underwhelming part as well is the dial that we noticed, right? It's like every single dial they have like guilloche and everything. It's pretty unique and everything have, but this one it's pretty meh.
Yeah, I think I was the one that told you guys as well. It's like, and I do this a lot of time, Casey, just for the fact of it, right? It's like every single Ming watch, if you go on their website, there is a dial macro close-up. This is the first time, and Ming is an amazing photographer, right? This is the first time he didn't do it. So it told me that he's not quite happy with it, and there's nothing really to show off there, right? So unlike the 1709, which has all that controversy, it's still a beautiful dial. Even the one that had the mosaic, beautiful dial, crazy price and all that. But you kind of know as a designer what you're going to show off. And by virtue that you didn't focus on it, is kind of telling all of us that it's not one of my highlights. It's still pretty good, but not really there.
Not the best of the best.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the price though? So it's the same movement as the 1709, just with the added GMT function, right? But it's almost double the price. Is it worth it?
If you're gonna flip it, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna make money out of that one, because unlike the time limited where they don't tell you how many they produce, right? He declared it's 1,000 pieces each, so that helps with the hype creation. But what I found really interesting was how many more people, but it could be just that I'm mingling with the right people or wrong people, if you like. How many people are so upset with him now? It's like, it's just there, you speak to people about it. I post out the post, right? People just comment, it's like, I'm not interested because of the fiasco of last year and all of that. And I'm like, I thought it was just me.
Oh no, a lot of people
are still upset about that.
Yeah.
Like the last two releases, like the moon phase and everything, was just.
I mean, they'll still sell out, but I think it's just become a lot more vocal that people are, or at least the enthusiast crowd are feeling a bit jaded. And
fool me once, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard about John's story.
Yeah, the GMT.
Yeah, here's the 1901. Is that the
I
world
really
timer?
like that watch, but I think you were the one that showed the misalignment there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was misaligned. He sent it back, and they were like, no, it's parallax error. They sent it back to him. And he was like, dude, there's no way this is parallax error. He sent it again. And then they were like, okay, fine. It's actually wrong. They so-called fixed it and sent it back worse than before.
My God.
And then
Ooh.
finally, a certain person who is, very highly involved, who may or may not be the eponymous person behind the brand, came out and said, no, it's not misaligned. We're not doing this anymore. Done. Which is not the kind of customer service I would expect from a watch that costs like 9,000 euros of time. Like
9,000 Swiss francs or something of the sort. It's ridiculous.
And especially the story from Gavin, right?
Yeah, Gavin
that he
from
shared
Singapore.
out, right? The one that started this whole controversial and everything, the controversy and everything. Ming did the same thing where it says that, oh, we have tried it and stuff. It's you can either have two options, right? You either accept it or we give you back your money, but we're not fixing it. So it's
I think this 1709 really put the spotlight on those practices that shouldn't have been allowed to begin with. So for all intents and purposes, it's greater for the industry that this is happening, but the reality of the matter is it still sells out. So what does it matter, right? It's just noisy. It's just noise at the moment, really.
Like it doesn't make any difference to them.
Yeah, it doesn't dent them one bit. So
it doesn't even dent the secondary market.
No, it doesn't. It's
at
shocking,
all.
really.
Yeah. So at the end of it's just a few of us making a lot of noise and nobody else cares.
Yeah. At the end of the day, as long as we run a business, you sell your stock. That's all you're aiming for, right? So, and every brand's going to aim for that. I think that's the sad thing as well. If you are a micro brand today, you're going to look at Ming and say that I want to copy that, and that's the role model at the moment. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not. So. And I think that also segues to the next unfortunate thing, which was the big Omega release, right?
Hold on. But when you talk about Ming and stuff, I would say, I think based on the latest episode that Woody and I did as well, I got to really give credit to Kurono, right? There's a lot of, I would say, unfortunate miscommunications that happened and so on, but they did rectify it. And I think they did rectify it in a, I would classify it as a sincere way that they do it, right? For context, Woody and I had like a shock that we thought Kurono went back on their words and did a Nautilus Tiffany, right? Which is they released something that they say that they weren't going to release anymore, right? At least for this year. And then they clarified that with us, and it says that, all right, there's a miscom, anniversary does not equals to classic line, and they're going to have something that's a special anniversary or a different anniversary for this year, and they rectify it. And with their experience with the Seiji as well, there's a whole controversial with like female only purchase and everything. I think they did. I see the right intention, what they're trying to do. It wasn't executed properly, but they did, with their best effort, try to apologize and make up for it, which I think that is something that should be followed, that should be practiced, right?
It's more than a lot of brands have done. They came out and apologized and said, we fucked up, which is more than a lot of brands have done.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
All right. Omega.
Right. Omega, yes.
AKA Rolex Junior.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. I'm going to get in trouble for this. Oh,
yeah.
boy.
I think, to be fair to them, when I looked at the entire release, and this is the funny thing, right? I mean, it's true. Every single release that they have almost feel like them sending a message. Look, you want a Oyster Perpetual? We've got you covered. Just come to us. We've got one for you, right? It's called a Aquaterra. We've got a similar color, slightly different, but it effectively is Meta certified, blah, 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 and all that. So we've got you covered. Every single line that you think you like from Rolex, be it you want a gold watch, I've got it for you. You've want a green dive watch, I've got it for you. Everything they've now basically covered. I think that's why my attention was only on one, which was the 57, because the 57 is actually unique. And I mean, it's a Speedmaster. And they slimmed it down by nearly 2 millimeters, and that's major in thick boy territory, right?
Yes.
And that's a major shift that they were able to do. I think they deserve the credit for being able to pull that one off. I also think it's nice that they've come in different color variations, because it's not common to have chronographs in color variation. So that was really the highlight. I never quite understood the deep sea other than an ultimate flex to just say that I can do it and none of you can.
It's okay. If you look across the whole line, I honestly think it's firstly, we are an alternative, and secondly, it's one-upsmanship.
Yeah. That deep sea felt like a one-upsmanship completely. It's like no one else can challenge us on this. And we actually made it kind of wearable if you can pull it off. But there was one release that came out very quietly that I just discovered today. The CEO of Omega Malaysia actually posted it. It's actually a reissue of a very old CK watch, right?
Right.
I saw it today. It looks really nice. And they went so quiet on it, but I think that's really a sleeper hit right there. And I think he recognized it too. So Martin actually put it up on his Instagram. So that one's really nice. If you guys haven't seen it, just I'll try and give you the link later. But it's a very nice vintage looking watch, and it's these things that appeal to us enthusiasts, or at least to me, right? That's different. It's not the copy and paste that I have something for you sort of thing that doesn't give that vibe.
I think that's what I like about Omega, and slightly biased, but they make mainstream releases, but they also do these little things for us enthusiasts. You know, like even previously when they had the Seamasters that were inspired by the old Seamasters with the small seconds and the like, just a dressy sort of Seamaster. That
Yes. Like the 1948 reissues.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
That was definitely not a mainstream watch. They didn't have to release that. They did it for us enthusiasts. And that is something that I really like about Omega. Yes, they're pursuing mainstream. Yes, they are trying to go like and do a one-upsmanship game with Rolex, but they are also like, hey, we know you're enthusiasts like this. Check this out.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right. They actually interact with the enthusiasts a lot. And they actually create stuff. I think the real classic case is always the guys at Fratello, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No other brand started that sort of movement aside from that. I know Oris was trying it, Zenith does it from time to time, but the biggest brand that really cares about the enthusiasts is Omega. They actually have an ongoing interaction. I know Fratello has a very good connection with them. So they're always one of the first to say, like, don't worry, guys, the adjustable bracelet that doesn't come with the tree is coming. They've told us, just don't know when. It's stuff like that. It's like they bother to make that sort of communication with the enthusiasts.
The funny thing is, last year, like during Omega Days, we were like thematic, we were invited to the Omega launch.
Yeah.
And that was actually the question I posed to Reynald.
Yeah.
I was like, Reynald, I have to ask this. I know you hate this question, but as a Speedmaster enthusiast, can I know when is an adjustable class coming up for Speedmaster? And he just went on for like 15 minutes talking about how they were trying to develop one for it, but they wanted it to be 16mm instead of 18. So in order to come up with the mechanism, it wasn't ready in time, and they needed to launch the Speedmaster first. So they came out with a normal clasp. But don't worry, the adjustable one is coming, my friend. I will make sure you know about it. I was just like, holy shit.
Amazing.
Yeah. So Han, I think you and I are going to put an order for that.
Yeah.
100%. Like I need the new bracelet first and foremost.
Dude, the new bracelet is a gem.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people they're franking the 3861 bracelet with the
chronoscope.
The chronoscope class,
right.
and they mix it together. It looks pretty well, actually.
Yeah, but I think it's off by a millimeter, but it doesn't seem like it. But I reckon we'll just give Omega some time. I actually even asked RJ Bro of Fratello to just ask if the new 57, because it's a flat link, right? And it has an adjustable class, like, does it retrofit? And I think the answer is no, but as an enthusiast, you just want to know, right?
Yeah, we have to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's sad that Omega is doing that, but at the same time, I don't blame them, because if I were running a business right now and I was in their management team, right, that makes sense to do, because
that's the market to pursue, right?
Yeah, my number one rival, who I feel I'm your number one competitor, whether you like it or not, right? That's what I think. And I have a watch, literally every sports watch you have, I have something that can actually compete with you on every regard, right? The best thing I can do right now, since you can't satisfy demand, is I will satisfy the demand for you, right? Whether or not it means that it looks like I'm selling out or not, it doesn't matter, because if I really wanted to flex, I could, and I have with the Deep Sea, for example.
Yep.
And I actually already have better stuff than you, but maybe people are not buying them. Like, I really think the Teak Aquaterras are gorgeous watches.
Yep.
Better than the new ones that came out, but they were there. People are not buying them. So since people were buying plain dials from Rolex, right? Let me give you plain dials and see what happens.
You don't want our intricate textured teak dials.
Yeah.
You want a plain sunburst dial? Fine. Here you go.
Okay, here you go, and you're willing to pay over the odds for it. I'm going to charge less.
Yep.
Still not,
I'll
not
charge you
cheap.
retail.
Yeah, I'll charge you
Maybe
retail
even
for
a
it.
discount.
Yeah. And you can get it. You don't have to go on a wait list. Even if it's a wait list, in a month's time, it'll come, But
it's a proper wait list.
Yeah, it's a proper wait list. So
Actual wait list.
yeah. And if you're running a business, that's logical, As much as you want to hate on them, right? They're just taking advantage of the circumstances that exist. So what can we really say?
I think I have a problem with the new Aquaterra lineup because I'm a bit annoyed with the date window because there's no really like frame or bevel in it. It's just like a plain cut window, and it somehow makes it look cheap.
It doesn't look as refined like the Teak dials. The Teak dials look like it was properly thought out, and this was like, you know what? We could go into our manufacturing department and go like, how quickly can we do a sunburst, replace the cover, and that's that, right?
Yeah.
Like every single Teak dial one is date match colored as well, like how all the micro brands do it. And this one is just plain white. And it's like, I think it's just a business decision. You can call me an apologist for Omega, whatever you want to call it, but I don't blame them for it. It's just making the most of the situation right now.
Isn't it the same thought process though? Like, oh, Rolex doesn't do a date frame. Rolex doesn't do colored dials.
Yeah.
I mean, colored date wheels. Is that what you want? We'll give you a.
Yeah. And I've told the guys here, right, that Rolex is actually the most guilty of not aligning even their date wheels. The only thing they get away with it for is because the Cyclops is stuck on it.
Yes.
Actually, it's not even aligned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because of the Cyclops, you're like, oh no, it's just the wrong angle.
Yeah.
Right?
So it is what it is. People are buying stuff that don't make sense. And so that's the situation as it is. So until this cools down, right, I reckon all the other big brands are going to do the same. So I think Casey is right. The next watches that are coming, if they are not integrated green bracelet watches, right, it's probably a few people may manage to get a Tiffany blue color that kind of works, and they might try that too. Either that or just some sports model. It's not going to be a dress watch that's going to be a highlight of Watches and Wonders, man.
I feel like this is becoming the Casey and Woody backup Omega and bang on Rolex.
I think that's a good way to close the episode off as well.
So I'm
having
shut
said
up for a while now.
So having said all of that, right? Because I think James did mention Watches and Wonders. I actually think there are exciting stuff coming because it is the anniversary of the Black Bay. It is also due for a AP. V-Royal came out already. It's due for a Nautilus kind of update anyway. So there are kind of a lot of these big things that were supposed to come out. So I think Ariel is one-upsmanship again, right? I'm not going to release it yet. I'll wait. I'll leave some of this good stuff till the day comes, and I'm going to shock you there. So I actually don't think anyone's done yet. Even Omega, I don't think it's done yet. I don't think any of the brands have completely revealed their hand. I was having a conversation with some people on Instagram about Omega, right? And they were right. The first Omega in space is having its 60th anniversary in October. So if you're Omega, are you not going to release something? I doubt so.
I will say, okay, having backed up Omega for this long, something to knock on Omega about is the fact that Omega has been around in the space program for this long. They have a fucking anniversary every fucking year. There's always some space program. There's Gemini 4. There's Apollo 13. There's Apollo 16. every freaking year, there's just some anniversary for the Speedmaster. So
Yeah, I know.
no,
But having said that, I think they've reduced the limited edition stuff for the past year or so already. In fact, I tell the guys that and for someone who's bought a lot from that brand, right? The new brand of limited editions is Seiko and Grand Seiko. They have gone crazy with that, man. It's like
but
taken the
nobody's
Omega.
called them out kind of yet.
Yeah, no one's properly called them out yet at this moment in time. But
Shall we start?
sure, why not?
Speaking of Seiko, the episode from Helsinki, Watches in Wow or something like that, it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, the one
Monster.
in
Really
Thailand, right?
refreshing.
Really
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
So if those who have not watched it, please go watch it. It's really, really good.
I'm actually looking forward to the next episode because I think it's talking about
Aviator.
aviator watches, and
Yeah.
I think for all intents and purposes, although I feel Hodinkee has kind of become a mouthpiece of a lot of brands, when they do put effort into their journalistic aspect, they do it the best than anyone else when they actually put the effort to do it. They have the talent to do it, but at the same time, just like how we say Omega's business decisions are understandable, Hodinkee has to feed their staff too, right?
True.
Put food on the table.
Yeah. But anything else that you guys spotted that caught your eye?
What in terms of what the Omega
New
or what the
watches or
new
stuff you're looking
watches?
forward to?
I don't know. For me, it's like being a Tudor fan as well. I'm hoping for the new GMT to replace mine, right? So that's something I'm really looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, like I always wanted a vintage looking GMT, but not a vintage one because for me, the looks is one thing, but the wearing it is another thing as well. I don't like it being jangly and fragile and so on.
Yeah.
The GMT was a great choice. But I do wish the case could be a little bit thinner, and I do hope that they come up with something this year. I'm looking forward to that. That is probably something that's in my radar.
How about you, Han? You haven't bought anything yet, so I'm really going to put pressure on you right now.
No, man. I'm still waiting for Grand Seiko to do something that will wow me.
What Grand Seiko you want, Har?
I don't know. It's a spring drive that will make me feel like I just need it, right? So far, I haven't seen one yet. So
Yeah, we need to have a beer session. I need to buy Casey a beer, so let's just go out.
yeah, sure. I think that's in my cards. Yeah.
But I think there's still more coming because I did have a chat
Oh, for
before I
sure,
sold off
for
the
sure.
the Snowflake with the UK boutique, and they said there are still stuff coming. They're not done yet, so you may get what you want.
For sure, man. It's just a matter of time, I believe.
I am still waiting for a 39mm Pelagos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't you feel the FXD came so close, but they just didn't want to give it to you?
Right? I was like, fuck, come on. Make it a bit smaller, a bit thinner, lose some of the water resistance. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Just give me that Snowflake in titanium in a better fitting case.
Yeah.
I will. The Pelagos was on my list for the watches that I'll keep. I will 100% sell it if they come up with that Pelagos.
There we go.
Because it will be a superior replacement.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think they should. I think the Pelagos is about time already, and it's also as what Woody and I discussed as well. It's one of the line in Tudor that is more Tudor, if that makes sense. Less.
It's not
Rolex.
derivative of Rolex. It's just Tudor. Yeah.
But I would say the Pelagos is a modern successor of the Submariner.
Yeah. It is.
In terms of being the tool watch, being like functional above all else, I think it's the modern successor of the Submariner. To me, at least.
I agree. I've had hands-on on it. I can't wear it, but everything about it just says this is the tool dive watch that the house of Rolex and Tudor came up with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what it feels like to me as well. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Anything else in terms of what I expect from like micro brand snacks and so on? Instead, aside from the obvious of green Dow, Tiffany blues and everything.
There's also a Nodus and Matic collaboration coming out soon.
Yes. There's still units going to be available. Casey hasn't bought all of it yet.
I've not. I've only bought 2.
Yeah.
Me and the missus.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Cool. I think that's pretty much it for today, right? And, yep. It's a pleasure having you here, Casey.
Thanks so much for having me.
No worries. For those who are keen to listen to more of Casey's podcast and everything, I hope I'm pointing in the right direction one way or the
Somewhere
other.
there.
But yeah,
Somewhere
somewhere there.
here.
I'll put-
In like
yes.
font size 2 somewhere.
If you zoom it in real close, you may be able
Yeah,
to see
good
it.
luck.
Yeah, so just visit. Follow the Watchdog, Casey and John podcast.
Yep.
And yep, stay tuned for the next one. I hope it won't take us too long to release the next one.
Yeah.
And take care, stay safe.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.